Hi everyone, welcome back to BS Rambles. This video is going to cover a few ways to make sure that you're getting the maximum value possible in an array of situations with Nova. Nova is a fairly niche pick in Heroes of the Storm, or at least that is how she's perceived, which is why picking her often leads to a lot of dismay on behalf of your teammates. If you're picking her in a situation which she may not conventionally fit, the last tip I give will be how to guarantee you get to pick Nova in Hero League, but I don't want to start my video off with a troll tip, so I'm going to leave that to very last. In the early game, your job on any hero essentially is to beat out the other team in experience. Nova is often considered weak in this phase. Ideally, you move around, soaking multiple lanes and ganking. However, it's very common to get trapped in a lane. But if you play properly, Nova is actually great in lane, even if you're forced against a strong laner such as Zagara. So tip number 1, use your range to bully opponents out of lane. Nova comes with Rainer's passive ability built in, so abuse it. If you're caught in a solo lane, which is better than leaving a lane empty, focus on poking the enemy hero out of lane. Maintain max range and poke with auto attacks every time they go to damage your minions. They're going to beat you in wave pressure for the first couple of waves, but if you're going to force them to tap the well and eventually go all the way back, and most importantly, you're going to be effectively soaking a lane the whole time. With towers no longer having ammo limits, you're going to be able to force almost any opponent out of lane and get your team an experience advantage. Tip number 2, staying active. One of the biggest problems Nova players face is running around not knowing when to engage on a team fight while damage is being exchanged. Don't be afraid to pump damage into the enemy's tanks. One of the biggest mistakes a Nova player can make is thinking that you have no choice but to blow up squishy opponents. That is not necessarily the case. Deleting carries and supports should be your priority, but a savvy team will adjust to an opponent's Nova pick by staying behind their tanks. When this happens, do not be afraid to pump damage into the opponent's front line. Even against the biggest frontliners, a single rotation can chop through 30% of the enemy's tank's health. Not only does this give your team an opportunity to follow up and get the kill, but more often than not, it's going to bait the enemy support into using their heal cooldown on the tank, which means that your squishier targets just became a lot more vulnerable. Tip number 3, using your decoys effectively. Decoys are a great tool for misdirection, but situationally they are better used to obstruct opponents' abilities. The convention is to open up your rotation by using the decoy first, but against certain matchups you may be better served to save the decoy as a way of blocking a skill shot. The easiest and flashiest that comes to mind is using your decoy to block a Stitch's hook. Nova is a complete sleeper of a counter to Stitch's because your decoy is on a shorter cooldown than Stitch's hook. Anytime you see that hook coming for yourself or a teammate, you should be dropping a decoy in front of it to negate it. You can imagine this works equally well against Hanzo's arrows, Killfast Cyclone, Janus Frostbolt, and tons of other skill shots. Tip number 4. Don't tell anyone that this tip came from me because this is a total troll tip that is going to make people mad at you. If you're a good person, thanks so much for watching. This video is over. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great week. Bad people, let's have a quick chat. So now you've got all these new strategies to maximize the value you get out of Nova and make her a viable pick even in non-conventional situations. Your teammates don't know that you're about to play the baddest Nova they've ever seen and drag them to an easy W, and someone drops that dreaded "please no Nova" line on you. Now typically you say something in chat like "I'm really good at Nova, please trust me," etc, etc. Guess what happens next? Bong! Your own team bans Nova away from you. An absolute hate crime. Fuck all that. If that conversation happens and they don't ban Nova and you do go ahead and pick her anyways, they're going to think that you're throwing already and you're going to put your team into a negative spiral. They don't know that the only throwing you're doing is throwing them all onto your back. So we are going to circumvent that entire conversation with a little misdirect. You are going to instead highlight Zeratul. He's a hero that fills a similar niche for your team to draft around and pull the old bait and switch and lock in as Nova once it's your turn. There's a decent chance this does not go over well with your team, so you might want to consider turning off team chat following this little maneuver. And that's all 4 tips, 3 real ones and 1 for if you want to be a terrible person. Anyways, thanks everyone so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. It will really help with trying to remonetize it following YouTube's new rules where you need 1,000 subscribers, and I'm also trying to rack up 4,000 hours of view time. So if you would like, go ahead and just rewatch this video over and over and over and over again. I really appreciate any comments. I do read all of them and I respond to most. So thanks again everyone for watching and have a great week.